In America's rich history of literature, one type of literature is never really addressed: comic books. Comic books are America's mythology, tales of incredibly powerful beings using their powers to help the innocent. So today I'm going to educate you all on America's rich history of comics throughout the ages. The first thing you need to know is that there are two main companies, Marvel and DC. These are the main ones we'll be focusing on, but we will mention a few of the others. The next thing you need to know is that there are many different ages of comic books. There's the Golden Age, the Silver Age, the Bronze Age, the Iron Age, and the Modern Age. Let's begin with the Golden Age, from 1938 to 1950. The Golden Age started in 1938 with the creation of Superman, the first superhero. He was created by DC, and so are most of the other first superheroes like Batman and Wonder Woman. In 1940, DC created the Justice Society of America, the first superhero team. At the time, Marvel was actually called Timely Comics. Their first character was Captain America. Go back one, please. Thank you. Most superheroes actually started fighting Hitler and the Nazis as World War II broke out, and comics became very popular. After the war ended, however, superhero comics became unpopular because they were believed to cause violent behavior in children. Next is the Silver Age, from 1956 to 1970. The Silver Age began as baby boomers started reading comic books. Comics went through their own scientific revolution. Several characters' origins changed to be more scientific. For example, the Flash went from being a bumbling buffoon who got his powers by tripping on his shoelaces to being a CSI scientist. Green Lantern changed from being a powerful wizard to a man who got his powers from aliens. Also, during the Silver Age, the Justice Society of America became the Justice League. This was to show that superheroes would fight in any country, not just America, and also because DC's editor at the time was a really big fan of baseball. At the time also, Timely Comics changed its name to Marvel and introduced the Avengers to compete with DC's Justice League. This would be one of the first times of many that the two companies would copy each other. But there is one event that really characterizes the Silver Age: the creation of the Comics Code Authority, the censorship board for comic books. They ensured that only material suited for children would be allowed in comic books, resulting in a lot of really silly and stupid stories. Next is the Bronze Age, from 1970 to 1985. The Bronze Age began when the Comics Code Authority loosened up to allow comics to tackle modern issues plaguing the country. For example, Wonder Woman and other female superheroes started being more strong to show that women are just as powerful as men and should get the right to vote. The X-Men became an allegory for black people wanting to get their own civil rights as well. But there are two stories that really captured the essence of the Bronze Age: The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller and Watchmen by Alan Moore. These stories took place in other dimensions, meaning that they don't take place on the same Earth as normal comic books. This allows an author to do anything that they want with the characters. These types of stories came to be known as Elseworld stories. Most of them ask a question: what if? Like, what if Superman became the leader of the Communist Party? Or, what if Wolverine was in a Mad Max-style apocalypse? Before we finish on the Bronze Age, there is one more thing that happened that was a huge deal for comic books. Batman took on a second Robin. Robin became what is known as a legacy character. A legacy character is a superhero identity that has had multiple people take on the name. Other characters include Spider-Man, Ant-Man, and most famously, Robin, with 5 or 6 different incarnations. Now we come to the Iron Age, from 1985 to 2000. This was the worst period for both DC and Marvel, so much so that some people refer to it as the Dark Age instead of the Iron Age. It is believed that the editors of DC had the idea that the readers wanted the characters to become more extreme and different. The writers believed that this notion was foolish, but had no choice, so they devised a plan. If we make the characters too extreme and too different, then the readers will beg us to change the characters back to the way they were before. Unfortunately, their plan worked, and some of the worst characters and stories were created. Spider-Man was replaced by an idiot clone who wore a hoodie instead of a normal superhero costume. Batman's back was broken, and he was replaced by a murderous psychopath in a garish costume. The plan worked, and the fans were outraged, even at one point boycotting Marvel. The editors had no choice but to allow the writers to write better, less extreme stories than the readers could actually enjoy. And finally, there is the modern age of comics, from 2000 to now. Today, Marvel and DC have tried to sweep the Dark Age under the rug by getting back to their roots. But thanks to the Dark Age, more comic book companies have become very popular, some almost as popular as DC and Marvel. Some of these companies include Dark Horse, IDW Publishing, and Valiant, just to name a few. One big thing that has happened in the modern age is that Hollywood has realized how amazing these books are, and that they are not just for nerds. This is why there are so many different comic book movies and TV shows coming out more and more every year. And with these different interpretations, some comic book writers have changed some aspects of the characters to make them a bit more like their movie counterparts. But that has been the way it has always worked with comics. For example, Superman's logo originally was just an S, but several different movies changed it to be an alien symbol for either hope or his family's own crest. But don't think of this as unoriginality. You should think of it as inspiration, like all great authors have used throughout the ages of America. So in conclusion, comic books are America's mythology and should be counted as just as good as the other genres. I hope I have inspired you to maybe try reading some of these great works of fiction.